Good morning. I'm Marcia Brown in Jacksonville, Florida, and I wanted to share one of my favorite scriptures with you this morning. This is a scripture that I honestly have heard mostly at weddings, but the thing I know is it's a story about unconditional love. It starts in actually it's mostly in Ruth, the whole story, but the part that I would like to read to you is one very simple verse. Ruth replied, "Don't make me leave you, for I want to go wherever you go, and to live wherever you live. Your people shall be my people, and your God shall be my God." That simple verse, as I mentioned earlier, is one of unconditional love. You know, Ruth followed her husband during a time of famine to the country of Moab. While she was in Moab, they had two sons, but also her husband died. Later, the sons both died, and she was left by herself with two very devoted daughter-in-laws. She decided it was best that she go back to her home. Decided to make that trip. As she was on her way, the daughter-in-law said, "We both want to go with you." And she allowed them to do so. But while on the journey, she started thinking, "I'm not young. I cannot have more sons. I don't want my daughter-in-laws to give up their life for something that they might have been able to make better." So one of the daughter-in-laws did return to Moab, but Ruth decided to go with her mother-in-law. While she was on this journey, she claimed the devotion that I read to you earlier. Wherever you go, I will go. My people will be your people. What a beautiful thought. So I'm going to fast forward just a little bit. I thought this was romantic love, but what I saw is it was unconditional love. It was that spiritual love of us all being part of the whole with no separation. The two women journeyed on to the home country, and while they were there, they were staying together. When Naomi said to Ruth, "Please, I know someone that's very wealthy named Boaz. Go to his fields and pick up some of the wheat that they might have dropped as they're gathering their crop." So that's exactly what she did. She was picking up behind Boaz in his fields. He was very generous to her. He rewarded her, and he gave her more than enough. And part of the reason she was rewarded was how well she had treated her mother-in-law, the unconditional devotion. And so eventually her mother-in-law said, "I would like to sell my fields. I will go to Boaz and see if he will take the fields and take you as a wife." And that's exactly what she did. She advised her daughter-in-law to go into his tent one time when he was sleeping. She did that and asked Boaz if she could be his wife. But unfortunately, he said, "I feel that I'm too old for you. So while I feel that, I want to try to find someone that will be perfectly suited for you." In doing this, he went to the younger man and asked if he would be willing to take the girl from Moab as his wife, for she had been so devoted to her mother-in-law. He said, "No, I'm not able to do that." So Boaz did this himself. He took Ruth as his wife. He took the fields and made sure that they were tended. He made sure that no matter what was going on, that these ladies were rewarded. Naomi was old. She was not a young woman, and yet the devotion that Ruth showed for her mother-in-law, when it looked very dark, turned into that rainbow that we so often can't see when we're moving forward. So, this very verse that means so much at weddings today was a tribute of devotion from one woman to another. And it also can be used with one person to another. I love that it's in weddings. I love that people choose to have this verse said over and over again. Wherever thou goest, I will go. It's so beautiful to know that we have no separation. We have that unconditional love. And it's shown in the Old Testament of our Bible. In the book of Ruth, chapter 1, and this small verse is verse 16.